I like to joke with my team that I fired myself, and they do kind of half giggle about that, but mostly they're just happy to do the work. It's been like, I guess it's growth I'm still working through, where like really truly celebrating somebody else winning in that seat versus yourself. That's an interesting challenge. I mean, there's a lot there, but I think it's important. That is the ultimate growth in leadership, is like being able to celebrate others winning in seats that you wanted to win in.
Welcome to Encouraging Leaders, a podcast that exists to remind CEOs and aspiring CEOs that you do not have to lead alone. I'm Mark T. Braun, and today I'm joined by a dear friend, a CEO here in St. Louis, Eric Gilbert. Eric is the CEO of Innova Furnishings. He is also the second generation owner of the business, and it's been phenomenal watching him and his team learn and grow and build an incredible culture in business over the last 8 years. So I'm excited for you to be able to hear and feel the growth there and to hear some of the things that Eric has learned. Eric, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mark. I'm really excited to be here. I kind of gave a little nod there because it's like, yeah, it has been 8 years. That's like 2017. Got to give a big nod to our wives. They connected the dots between
Isn't
a
that great?
few things we had in common, and yeah, it's been a really fun relationship since then, man. So I appreciate it, and it is an absolute pleasure to be here and share some thoughts.
Yeah, it does feel like a long time. It's really fun to build the friendship and also to be able to see the business grow. And so watching both sides, getting to see the families grow up and watching the kids build and grow and then also the teams underneath leaders. And so looking forward to the conversation. I do start out the same way every time with guests, which is just, what is it that when you look back through your leadership, is there a time that comes to mind where you learned that you didn't have to play this role alone? You didn't have to lead alone. What comes to mind for you there?
I think there were two key moments. One, and I think it's good just for your listeners to know, like, there's been a long and fruitful relationship here. You were probably one of my first more like clear, official mentor coaches that really like stepped into a role to help me on a more day-to-day basis. So that was actually a big piece where I didn't feel alone anymore. There was our biggest customer responsible for 10% of our sales and most of our profit at the time. Like, a long story short, which you know it well, we lost him. I was in way over my head at the time when you started coaching me, and I was in over my head with that customer in particular. And I didn't know it. I didn't know the language or have the emotion, but I felt very alone. Like, I felt very lost and alone with respect to how to interact with that group. I think your willingness to put your hand in the air and say, "Hey, do you want some help with that?" And I was kind of like, thought to myself, well, wow, I didn't know help was available. Like, I didn't know this was something that was even possible to ask for. And so I was like, yeah, absolutely. Like, I didn't know that food was available. So then, yeah, it was great. I enjoyed that interaction. It was unfortunate we lost the customer, but the business has gone on to do really well. So that's fine. It was sad. We could go deep there because it was like true value destruction. I look back at that, we all aspire to create value in these roles as business leaders. And I look at that, I'm like, wow, like I really wrecked some market value there. And so did they. We did it together, but whatever, man. We all have those things we get to learn from, hopefully.
Well, it's fun to have people beside you because I remember you actually leading well through that. It was not easy. Loved walking through it with you. And, what I remember is after you got your bearings back, you sat with a team and they were actually jazzed for focus. Like, that was outside of the core focus of the business. It's actually not anything you're touching today in that segment. And so you're growing a business with more clarity and focus without that customer than you would have been with it. And so I just applaud, you leading well through it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think that what comes to mind there that is really curious, and I hope this resonates with some other people, but like, it's exceptionally counterintuitive, the experience through that. And it still is today. There's just kind of a mystery there. Like, there used to be an oven that took up maybe 1,000, 1,500 square feet. And it literally doesn't exist anymore. Like, it's just open ground that we can now build into. And our company is far more profitable and resilient than it was at the time. And at that time, we were dependent on that one customer for maybe all of our profit. It's pretty incredible. So yeah, I didn't willingly bet at the time that getting rid of that would have created a more profitable entity, but it has. And
More
it's just
profitable, more value, more growth, more
yeah,
potential. Yeah,
better for
it's
everybody in it.
in the buying and selling world, they would just call it revenue or profit concentration, and they would say it's all wrong. Like you don't want all of that in one basket. And so when they said it was done, it was actually it opened up opportunities for you to grow. Any others? I know you mentioned one other that came to mind.
Yeah, there was another one that was a lot of fun where well, it's fun looking back. It was fun at the time, actually. I had been responsible for leading our Winona facility. We have a manufacturing facility with about half of our team in it, about 60 to 70 people. It's in a relatively remote town in southeastern Minnesota, right on the Mississippi River. And I was responsible for leadership there. So installing the leader and guiding the leader. And I tried to do that. It's not an easy, I mean, anybody who has remote manufacturing knows it's hard to staff leadership in those facilities. So I'd been trying for a good 10 years and it had gone okay, but it hadn't gone well. And we were at a point where the leader needed some really heavy coaching, and simultaneously, just the time frame kind of worked out. I had to get a hip replacement and I had to get off the road, and I wasn't going to be able to be physically present in the space. And that kind of set of conversations, which may lead to a transition or may not, just needed the coaching on the ground. Couldn't be physically present for it. And we were in an advisory board meeting, and a gentleman, Dave Smith, I think he turned to my CFO, who had a good operations bent and a desire to do the job. And he was kind of like, "So that guy's not going," as he pointed at me. He's like, "Are you going?" And it was like a really like forward, and I kind of shrugged, like, like at Ken, I was like, kind of like, "Hey man, if you want the work, it's yours." And he put his hand in the air and has become an outstanding, CFO, COO, one of those guys who can brilliantly hold the numbers and people in operations at the same time. And another time I was kind of like, I had to suddenly give up that responsibility that I thought was very much my own for that, frankly, half of my team. But it was just awesome to see Ken step into the role, handle the transition with the leader well, and just build a beautiful organization. I mean, the place is doing exceptionally well now under his leadership. For the last That was 21, so I think that was 21. So 3 years, 4 years.
Yeah. Well, I think that's so powerful, whether it takes an outside, you've already talked about an advisory board. And so you had the willingness to take advice from outside, and then they're recommending help be provided, and then help is there. And you're saying go. And also you're getting to celebrate over the last few years, this beautiful growth of Ken, his operational leadership, and then the operation up there, and how everybody up there is so much they're solid, they're growing and flourishing. And so watching that culture build, I know for myself as a leader, it's amazing whenever I get out of the way and somebody else steps in the role and does better than I do. And it's like, interesting. That's actually what I've read about. I want that. But it also still feels a little bit like, wait a minute, how does this all work? And so I love that you're coaching Ken and Ken's coaching the team. It's great.
Yeah, I think the hard piece is like clinging. There's a sense, for me at least, is a sense of like clinging to the responsibility of the role I signed up for. I signed up for this role to lead this leader in Winona directly, and that's my responsibility. And I want to succeed in that seat. Like, there's part of me that selfishly is like, I want the win. I want to guide the leader, and I want to have that piece of the business do well while I am in that seat. And you got a bunch of smart people sitting around looking at you saying like, you're better off just not doing that. And then sure enough, you put somebody in that seat. Right? I put Ken in that seat. I like
Right.
to joke with my team that I fired myself, but and they do kind of half giggle about that, but mostly they're just happy to do the work. And it's been like, I guess it's growth I'm still working through, where like really truly celebrating somebody else winning in that seat versus yourself. Like, that's an interesting challenge. I mean, there's a lot there, but I think
Yeah.
it's an important, that is the ultimate growth in leadership, is like being able to celebrate others winning in seats that you wanted to win in.
Yeah, it is part of growth. I just fired myself from COO role in encouraging leaders, and now somebody's sitting in it and they're doing a better job. And I've done it enough times now to know that it's actually good, and so I can trick my brain into knowing that it's good before it feels good. But it's part of it. And so feeling those emotions and then doing the right thing and basically asking the question, will the business grow better? Will I grow better? And will the team underneath it grow better? And I see you doing that over and over and over, even though it's uncomfortable. And I love that you're still admitting that it's uncomfortable because it is.
Yeah. I actually had extreme validation of the move recently. Ken is still with the company and we were talking and he just threw out a comment that his favorite time in his career was that time when he was up in Winona in the first like 90 days, 6 months. He said he felt like he had absolute freedom to do whatever he wanted, make moves as quickly as he wanted. He didn't feel unsupported, like he was checking in with me and he was making sure that everything, we were both making sure everything was going well and I was excited for it. But he just loved the autonomy and the ability to move and the, seeing results really quickly. It made me extremely happy to hear that that's a gift, man. I mean, not many people get to say like what's the best part of their career so far, and to be responsible for that, for handing him that opportunity, like that felt exceptional. So
That's awesome. I
there's a lot
love that
there's a lot of good
you
stuff.
get to celebrate the wins with them and that you got to put them in place. Talking about any other big wins that your team is celebrating, anything you want to celebrate with them right now, things that they have just sometimes it just all comes together and you knock it out of the park. Anything you want to share with the group?
Yeah, I mean, there's a big story there. I mean, a lot. I guess in the last 18 months, we went on a heavy engagement around what's called 80/20, and we've had I've worked a lot on culture over the last 10 years, but on some level, culture alone doesn't move the business, and maybe we weren't making the best decisions on where to focus, where to spend our time. There was we got a culture right, and we got a great bunch of people, but we weren't really turn it up financially. And in the last 18 months, we made some really heavy changes. I mean, big emotional stuff. Like to say, in the words of William Faulkner, I think there was actually a different author, but you're supposed to kill your darlings, right? You write all these beautiful things, and then you're supposed to throw away all your best work.
Yeah.
And I think it applies to business too from time to time. And so we had to kill a bunch of ideas that we clung closely to. And the business is in a really good place. I don't say that lightly because I've been honest about it over the years when it hasn't been. And with this kind of chapter taking hold, yeah, we're launching into another level where I'm elevating one of my team members to take my role again. So Catherine Wilson has been with us for probably 16, 17 years, and she'll be stepping into the role of president at the end of July, beginning of August. And it's interesting. It's kind of a lengthy transition. We're not going instantly. So I'll have two people reporting to me. She'll be one of them with that title. And then eventually she'll be the single point of leadership guiding my executive team. So yeah, this time I'm jumping out without a clear sense of my role, which is great. But I'm excited for our future and think she can drive it faster for all of us.
That is really cool to celebrate Catherine. I'm watching her lead and grow and how she's led each of the teams that she's served. I'm looking forward to celebrating with her and with you. So it is another one of those tasks. I've come to believe that that's actually our job as leaders is to build and grow a team that actually has people capable of taking on a role. And so tell the group here what is that, because you're doing it and it's not instantaneously. It didn't happen overnight. You're planful about it. Tell them about that. What's important about that? What does it feel like? How would you recommend they think about it?
What does it feel like is the interesting piece for me there. So what does that look like? So and I love that. Like I couldn't agree more with that idea of like, well, theoretically, we're trying to do this, right? Yeah, I want to grow my team and see them grow, and and they should all be able to do my job. And then there's a little bit of like, yeah, but really, I can do. Yeah, I mean, they can do my job, but really, I can do my job better because I'm really good at my job, right? I mean, that's kind of there's a through line there, and so I mean, I think the situation with Catherine and other members of my team display this in other ways. But as I watched her work, I started to watch myself work, and I think it's healthy to like judge and compare strengths and weaknesses on the team. And I just started to see where not only could she do my job, but there were aspects of it she could do just flat out better. Coaching in particular comes really naturally to her. Asking the right questions with the right pace and drawing people up to their greatest capacity and capability. I mean, it's not something I wouldn't give myself a 3 on a 10 scale. I'm not piss poor at it, but I think she's certainly better than me. And I think that's an exceptionally important thing in our organization, especially at this level. And I was like, man, okay, if her business acumen's consistent and she's better at coaching, she's probably a little faster. I'm like, all right, like she not only can she do the job better. No, not only can she do my job, do it as well, but she could probably do it better than me. So that realization was striking. And it was really, there was this aspect of like, well, this person's going to keep growing. Right. So how did it feel? Like it felt like this recognition of like, I'm not some kind of force of nature where like I can stop her from growing. So a couple of things, I have a couple of options. I can either like hold my line and she's going to squirt out the side and leave our company,
Mm,
or
yeah.
I can make room for her. I can find a way to make room, and I can grow, and she can grow with us and keep growing here. And I'm pretty sure she wants to and is excited to. So I decided to get out of the way, and it's resulted in a ton of excitement. And I couldn't be more excited. The last time I did this transition where I talked about Ken just now, it was under duress. Right, we had a tough situation going on. The leader wasn't good. Business performance was dragging. This is kind of that like an opposite piece where like the business is gaining momentum. We are all feeling it. There's a lot of positive things going on. Hasn't felt this way in a long time, and I'm getting out of the way, and that feels really weird. So in terms of how does it feel, like there's a little bit of like bittersweetness to it. There's a little, again, like I want to carry that, I want to carry it across the line in a certain seat, and then it's like, wait, that's ridiculous. Like I'm here to grow this culture and touch more lives, and um, whoever can do more of that, like, should be doing it for me and for everyone. So maybe a long-winded answer, but that's how it
No,
felt.
it's not. It's such an important lesson. For me, it was such an important lesson. So I just want to go back to what I heard. So you can either hold your line and she will be held back from growth and she might leave the organization because you said squirt out. I love that image. Basically she's going to keep on growing. And so parts of her are going to go outside and it could be all of her. Or you could choose to make room and build yourself and grow yourself and allow her to grow into the role that she's ready for and capable of. And I really do believe it is the number one item that I see of attraction. You are an attractive leader in an attractive culture, and people they want to come and work with you and for you. And I believe it's because you actually know that you don't want to hold them back from growth. You want them to grow. And you first have to realize that you could hinder. And so you've said that. And then if you're willing to do the work to not hinder, which and to not only not hinder, but help and then support and encourage them to grow. And so I really like the two stories, both. One is under duress, and sometimes we make changes that are uncomfortable out of duress. And sometimes we make changes that are uncomfortable because of purpose and because of values and because of alignment with how we want to lead. And so both of those are changes that are made in line with who you are and how you lead. So it's really cool, whether they're just duress or not. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It's been fun.
Talk to me about family business. Many of the folks that are listening are in family businesses. Is their family working currently inside the business? I know the answers, but I would love them to know. And or have there been, and how has that been?
So my fast answer is no, but it's actually not entirely true. So I have, shocking to both of us, I have drawn Sarah subtly into the business. My wife, she is a trustee of our 401k plan. We
Mm,
take that very seriously. There's a fiduciary responsibility to the team. And I was looking at everything, and it was a function of my father fully leaving the business. So my dad is not in the business. So when you asked the question, my head snaps to nope, there's nobody, there's no other family in the business. In the spring of 2023, we just hit a point and he like shed every last bit, right? No longer a director, no longer a trustee of our 401k committee, no longer anything. And he wasn't in the business or operating in the business before that. He wasn't coming to the office, and he wasn't an owner. But yeah, I was sitting around alone in that seat as that 401k trustee. I'm like, I think I want somebody else like riding shotgun, keeping an eyeball on all this stuff. But yeah, that was a long transition. I mean, I came in working with my dad and his team in 2002 part time. I like to say we dated to 2006. I came in full time. I took over the role of CEO in 2011, and then we did a full transaction in 2015. So it's been a long and winding road. And even though it's a kind of one of those crazy things where like I'm an only child, my father never had partners. This is very like theoretically clean one-to-one handoff, and I will say, like, I think it was still very difficult. We had a lot of help from an outside group. I want to give a nod to Gina Hoagland at CSI. She rode shotgun on that whole transition with us, and And, from her point of view, she's like, nobody's done it better. Your dad's perfect and amazing at this. And I'm like, wow, that's awesome. I'm glad to hear it. It still wasn't easy. And I don't think he'd say it was easy either. So
Yeah.
even in that stripped down state, one to
Yeah.
one, only child. And I like to say I did well in school and I didn't get into any serious trouble. So like it wasn't a hard decision for him, but it was still not easy,
Yeah.
strangely.
Well, no, I think it's never easy, and I think that the cool part is just recognizing that you can do hard things, and you guys have done it. And so, because Gina's seen quite a few transitions, and so have I, it's never been easy. And easy isn't the word I would describe it, but it's you guys did it in a healthy way, and you worked through it. And so, if he was listening today, because he might be able to hear this, what would you want to tell him?
That I'm deeply grateful for the organization he built. Really like fascinated and curious about the skills to launch an organization. Right. I mean, he was such a phenomenal entrepreneur with a nose for creating value, a desire to understand customers, and like he just built and he was such a natural at it. It's been interesting because, you know, me not having I don't have those skills. That's not my natural bend. And so it's just been an absolute privilege to continue to lead something that was built by somebody who was such a natural in that set of skills.
Yeah. Yeah, I love hearing that, and I think that the family businesses just give a real unique opportunity for generational values to be transferred and learned and grown, and different skill sets to be celebrated. And I think about the book that we have inside of our organization, "What Got You Here Won't Get You There." So the skills that he had got to a certain spot, and then the skills that you've had have been able to add and build to that. And so I know if he were listening, I know he's shared is just really proud of the group there and what you guys have done with what was started. And so it's so cool to be able to be on the inside of family businesses and see that it's not easy and it's worth it. That's what I have. That's my takeaway from that. Very cool. Any of the other operational side of things that you want to share? I know you guys have been recognized operationally. The quality side is really solid. Just for those that are listening, US manufactured, which is so beautiful to witness. And so anything around the operational excellence or operation side of manufacturing that you'd like to share with the team?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think so we have been, maybe we're guilty of a little bit of the flavor of the month. And like the business has been like on a long and winding road with respect to lean and lean processes and chasing waste out of our systems and all this. And I think I would share just like what a nonlinear path it is and how much I think grace I've had to give myself about not being perfect at it or even great. Like I think we're good. I mean, you're being kind. I'm very critical of the team when it comes to our ability to have and hold a lean culture. There's a story in our organization in the early 2000s when we first purchased the Winona facility. We did some stuff and ballooned up to 14-week lead times. We engaged, actually now it's Supply Velocity, Mitch Milstein and his team. With my dad, I was not in the organization at the time. I think I was in grad school. They took that 14-week lead time down to 2 weeks, as fastest in the industry. We're phenomenal from just a performance standpoint. Could tell the whole story about like a lean transformation, and then long story short, like we lost it. Like I look at the mid aughts, the early teens, like that, all those systems broke down. 19, like I jumped back onto 2-second lean, and that really gave our business a shot. Got a lot of energy out of it. COVID hit, and aspects of it like frittered away. And like we don't run that playbook with the discipline that the book implies
Mhm.
you need to win. And so I struggle with like where, that I can't like, I don't have our sauce yet that I can make a book out of and sell, which maybe isn't really my jam. But what I would share with an opportunity like this platform, like what is really working for us today and what I think is going to drive us to kind of that next level is actually the core. I'm looking at the poster on the wall, our core performance cycle, the core leadership.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting the exact name. It was Cheryl Jekyll's work. And
Yeah.
this idea that when it comes to leadership training, it's a full year, right? And coaching is a big part of that. I mean, I got to give a big nod to your work in encouraging leaders. That has helped too. But taking cohorts of a dozen people and putting them through leadership training that's a full year long with full days out and getting into all the details and setting consistent language and expectations that are culturally consistent and making that deep investment that's not like a 3-day seminar that somebody else is doing where you're sending somebody to, I don't know, GE headquarters or wherever people send people now, right? And it's like, we do it ourselves. We take a full year, and people who are in the program get to teach. And I think as I've seen us get to like 4, 5, 6 cohorts in a business our size, like that's where the transformation and the level of trust that you need to like really grow at a fast rate has started to take hold. So that's what's working for us, and I think it's been working more and differently in the last couple of years than a lot of the programs I've tried. So
That's great.
that's what I would share on that front.
Yeah, it's so your commitment to people growth demonstrated over and over and over and over in a consistent way. And then what I heard there was just not only being told something from the outside, but being able to learn it yourselves and then teach it or coach it so that you're actually becoming the teaching and learning or and coaching organization that can grow people. That's what I hear there. And is that what I hear?
Yeah, that is. I think the other thing I would highlight is shared language or
Mm,
and around expectations. So, like a great example is this one piece of the cycle is all around setting expectations. Like
hmm.
it's hard to do a job or it's hard to go anywhere. It's hard to have a winning project, anything, unless you set expectations. And so when we first go through the program, we learn that like in many, many cases in various aspects of the business, expectations haven't been set. And that's really
Right.
typical in a lot of businesses. And even now, like you could go poke into multiple corners in our business and we're going to find like wherever there are issues, chances are expectations weren't effectively set. And with so many, but now so many people have that language,
Right.
right? And so when somebody even just says the word expectations, it like everybody kind of perks up. It's like, oh, okay, here's where we are in the cycle, and here's what we need to think about as we grow through this piece of the business. And having that shared language and shared understanding, that has been, I think, shockingly powerful. And it takes a while to get a lot of people on the same page. It takes patience and investment and steadiness. So it's been good to see it grow. These are long cycle, right? Like things don't happen in 90 days, man. Nothing in my life happens it's all like a year, 2 years where like the real changes happen. And having patience for that can be tough, but it's fun when they come through.
Yeah, no, I think it's, it has been a consistent, the reason I did give you credit more than you're willing to take on the continuous improvement culture and effects is that that leadership development cycle that you're talking about putting in place is actually the core. You called it the core. It's the core of what is to build those kinds of quality systems in so that they don't break. And so you are you're not celebrating as loudly as some, but you're building more deeply than many. And so that's really cool to me. And that's what I love to be involved with. It's love I love to see, I love to witness, and I think about the generational impacts that that can have on the team members there, the leaders that have been developed inside of that group, that business can actually be a force for good, that my kids can see business led in a way that's like that, and that they can know that they can help build those kind of systems. And so um, I guess the reason the flattery is there is it's sincere. And I want people on the outside to know that that's the work that it takes. It takes not a 90-day cycle. It takes long, disciplined approach to building people systems that can care well for people and develop them into the future leaders that they are. And so, congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. It's
Yeah,
hard to see it when you're in it. That's
it
kind of
is
my
hard to see it when you're. It is. Before we wrap up, anything else that you wanted to make sure that the folks heard from you from a leadership perspective or business perspective?
Yeah, this is one that actually is I hold close often and I share with all of my leaders as they promote and step up into positions. And actually it was something you shared with me like early on when we started working together. So I've just been like really fortunate with a lot of stuff in my life, but my ability to learn and pick up information was pretty high growing up. So school was always easy. I checked a lot of boxes. I got a lot of things right. And when I started working, like it wasn't really tough. It was like a little IT stuff, plugged around with a little programming that all came together fine. Did some marketing work, some analytics, saved a bunch of money, like checked a bunch of boxes, up, was all fine. And then like I get into the CEO role. I don't have a roadmap. I don't know what I'm doing, but I just expect, well, everything's been pretty good. I've been fine. So, this should work out pretty well. And I just kind of started going, kept going, and just kind of like hit a ceiling. I didn't have a lot of like direction or clarity. And there was a lot of complicated stuff going on in the business, and it did well given where it was. But when we first started chatting, I still hold this where you're like, how long do you think it'd take to become a good CEO? And nobody had asked me that. I never stopped and thought about how long would it take to get good in this role. And I was like, huh. I'm like, man, probably like for 5 years, 3 years. And you're like, yeah, probably like 3, 5 to 8, you know? I was like, holy smoke. I'm like my whole time scale is wrong. I'm like, I want 90-day wins. At that point, I was still kind of like, I want 90-day wins. And then I was like, well, wait a second. Like, I need to give myself a lot more space to grow. And so, this is much harder work than I believed it to be. My dad made it look really easy growing up. That's kind of one of the funniest things. Like, in a very formative time in my life, late high school, he'd hit one of these pockets in capitalism and I think they happen from time to time. We had a catalog company, and the catalog would go out and money would come back. And like, it was great before the
Seems
internet. Like,
pretty easy to
that's,
me. Just
and
send out
so,
catalogs and money comes back.
yeah, man. I mean, and truly, like, he'd worked his butt off for decades to get it to
Right.
that point, and he had captured that. And there were like 5 years there where this thing just did exceptionally well. And that's like what I saw. And that's what I believed CEO leadership to be, kind of like Scrooge McDuck, right? You just sit around and this thing cranks out money. It was so far off of reality. It was so far off. And so that was just really this fun moment of like, wait a second, this is a much harder job than I got myself into. I'm probably still up for it, right? Like, enough people are like, you can do the job. So just reset. And now when people step up, I'm always like, how long do you think it's going to take for you to get good at this job? And it's like 3 years. Good. Yeah, 3 years. Like, so let's not try to like get everything right all at once. Like, let's
Yeah.
just pace it out, get comfortable with mistakes, try some stuff. And people do great with that expectation of like, you don't have to be perfect tomorrow.
Yeah, I love that. I'm going to capture it because I've got two young men in our family who are stepping into the work world, and one of them is brand new out of college, and he's a month into full-time employment. And the question of how long is it going to take to get good at this role, and he wants to be good now because that's what he's always been. He's always been good now, and so uh, just resetting that expectation in our own minds, and then helping our people reset it so that you can actually ask them, and then see if whatever they think, and then just acknowledge that it might be there or it might be longer, and that's okay. And giving them a little bit of peace to learn and grow. Really, really love that. Your wife actually has, I've heard, a statement that says, anything you do the first time. Do you remember
Oh
what she
yeah.
says?
Well, this comes from, we have, neither of us are particularly handy. So, but we still take on projects around our house all the time. And she's like, anytime you do something new, you're going to estimate a time in your head. And she's like, multiply it by 3.
Yeah. Well, I just think that's the same thing for these roles. I mean, like, literally, that's the key, is that our brains are wired to think it'll take an hour to do the oil change the first time, and it takes 3, or that it'll take whatever it is. It'll take me 90 days to get up and running, and it takes me 9 months. Just acknowledging that my brain always it will think this. So just multiply by 3. I love that little simple formula that she has, and I think it's a great one to use in your own roles to help reset expectations of how fast we should be excellent, and then can we grow as fast as we can towards that point. It's a really, really beautiful lesson. Thank you for sharing it. If you were to go back, you step into the role, you can pick either when you entered the company or when you stepped into the CEO role, whichever one you want, and you've got one chance to talk with them and say, hey, what do you want to tell them? Is that what you would tell them, or would it be a different lesson?
Well, I think it would be that coupled with like, and yeah, I think I'd start there. The other is the getting one-on-one help, right? I had an advisory board and I was like, oh, I'll get guidance from that. And it was like, no, that's not the right rhythm. Like that 2-week drumbeat of like, you really need somebody on you, helping you. Advisory board was brilliant and helped, but like I wasn't addressing the emotional challenges in the day to day. And I think we would have moved a lot farther faster, and people would have had better experiences in our organization had I had somebody closer to me on a regular basis, helping me think through that aspect of the job.
Well, it's always fun whenever a coach is interviewing a client and they say you should hire a coach. This is obviously not a sales pitch, but I hired my first coach 20 years ago, and I would go back and say the same thing. And that one-on-one time it was helpful for me to get unstuck. And like, I don't care who they have in their life. I just want them to have somebody that they can be held accountable for and they can meet with and that has the experiences, that can help because I
Yeah,
don't want them stuck.
but I think there's a deeper piece there, which is that's not the right thing to tell myself at that point, because like, well, why do I need a coach? I'd look at older self and be like, that doesn't make any sense. And I think if I the why behind it is like I underestimated, that's not the right word. I underweighted the emotional component of the job.
Mm,
It's all about hitting numbers and hitting goals. And it's like, hey, if you get the emotional component right, all that stuff is going to come a lot easier. And I think that would have sparked me at times, like 3 months in, 6 months in, I would have been like, oh, this emotional piece really sucks. And then I would have been like, oh wait, it's going to. Like my experienced self told me it's going to, and a coach would help that.
yeah.
Right. It's like, I don't need a coach to hit the numbers. I've always hit the numbers. I'm gonna go hit the numbers. Like, no, it's not about the numbers anymore. Like you have your like the emotional weight is different.
Yeah, once you're in team leadership mode and you have other people that are trying to follow you and you're not just individual performing, how you show up, how you lead emotionally impacts their ability to grow and build. I mean, that's it's so impactful for me. Um, so you would have somebody with you earlier, you would have selected a little earlier, and you would have grown a little faster. That's what I hear.
Yeah. And even, yeah, just the awareness around the emotional piece would have been really important to know. Yeah.
Well, I so appreciate for those that are listening, you spend the time on your own leadership and learning and sharing. I'm happy to do anything that I can to encourage you. And Eric, thank you so much for the time and the friendship and watching and letting me be close enough to witness the growth of you and your team. It's been an absolute delight.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, my pleasure. It's been fun to talk.
All right. Bye bye.
Thanks. Bye.